Welcome to the owner's class video for the Robert Larson 540-2000 coping saw from expertsaw.com. In this video we're going to go over what you need to know to get started. A coping saw includes a very long and thin steel blade spread on a frame to allow spinning movements depending on the chosen blade, metal, wood, or plastic. The U-shaped framework has at each end a bobbing spigot, snippet, to keep the blade ends. While slicing, a hardwood or plastic knob encourages the individual to turn the knife. Many gripping saws have 12 to 15 bits per inch, although they are sharper and more delicate. Adapting saws are utilized for cutting the scope of woods and are exceptionally valuable for cutting abnormal shapes or bends. In a cutting-edge workshop, these shapes are ordinarily cut using machine fret saws. Be that as it may, there are times when these machines are not accessible. Additionally, utilizing an adapting saw is a trial of aptitude, as it very well may be hard to govern and requires preparation. An adapting saw can be utilized to cut shapes in a bit of material. To start with, the sharp edge is expelled from the adapting saw and afterwards went through a gap that has been bored. The cutting edge is then fitted to the adapting saw outline. The saw would then be able to be utilized in an ordinary way, cutting the interior shape. To introduce a sharp edge, set the edge's front side on a seat and hold the handle, so it is facing up. Connect one finish of the cutting edge to the nozzle most remote from the stem. At that point push down on the handle to pack the corner so the opposite finish of the cutting edge can be appended. Discharge pressure and modify the nozzle as required. Home repair tools. Whether you like to utilize the yellow pages for whatever requirements fixing around the house or see yourself as an ordinary do-it-yourselfer, there are a bunch of apparatuses that everybody ought to have in their toolkit. Become familiar with about them in this article. An adapting saw gets its name since it is essentially utilized for making adapted joints. An adapted joint, for the most part, includes two segments of embellishment, one of which is sliced level toward the conclusion to fit against a divider. The other piece is molded to fit over the cover piece, with the goal that the two structure a firmly fitting joint. The adapting saw, then again, is a helpful device that is being utilized to make turning cuts on a few things like wood materials, plastic materials, and metal materials. Be that as it may, all of these material sorts that cuts are made on with the adapting saw all require distinctive cutting edge types. Aptitudes and safety required. While getting any of the parchment saw or adapting saw, it is ideal to recognize what expertise and security are expected of such observed. At the point when you have discovered the aptitude and security required for a parchment saw, it is then imperative to proceed to inquire as to whether you have such ability and can comply with the well-being necessities to stay away from perils. Here and there, in doing this, you may likewise need to believe the idea of the work to be finished. It isn't sufficient to think you have enough expertise to utilize a saw, and it is ideal to know whether the aptitude goes in accordance with this saw picked toward one side and the errand on the opposite end. Cost. You can't go for a saw that is more than your pocket. So you need to investigate your pocket first before approaching out of it while picking either the parchment saw, or the adapting saw. As far as being costly, the adapting saw is an enduring conventional device, and all things considered, it is more affordable than the parchment saw. Be that as it may, in the event that you are light enough to pay the cost and the parchment saw is what is best for the job needing to be done, at that point you ought to pull out all the stops. Make sure to have your spending limit arranged before settling on a choice, so every observed out there doesn't seem as though it. The Robert Larson 540-2000 is our top pick for adapting saw. It includes a great wooden handle and a solid metal casing that will confront a ton of misuse. You can undoubtedly change the sharp edge pressure by turning the handle, which makes modifications quick and will spare you a great deal of time and dissatisfaction over the long haul. Significantly, this model works with standard adapting saw cutting edges to pins, which implies you'll generally have the option to discover a substitution when your sharp edge wears out. While making inside cuts is the most widely recognized utilization of the adapting saw today, verifiably it was utilized to make adapt cuts. The adapt was a method for making up for human blunder in development. Our dividers, for example, don't constantly meet at a pleasant 90-degree edge, which implies that on the off chance that you take a miter saw and cut two 45-degree edges in your trim intended to arrange superbly, well, they won't fit. You'll either have an unattractive hole, or you'll see that the pieces won't fit together by any means.